Get ready to smash that dislike button because I already know this video is going to make you mad. Frankly, most content creators and pro players are actually sugarcoating the truth. So in this video, I'm going to give you the top 8 hard truths that you need to know because they're really holding you back from ranking up and becoming that player that I know you want to be. All that being said, we got no time to waste. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? The first hard truth that I need to relay to each and every one of you is that your teammates are not the reason you cannot climb. And I've already seen all the comments and the responses of people just blaming their teammates for their losses over and over again. What dictates you as a player is how much average impact you can bring to each and every game. That means in every single game that you play, look to do even more. The more Earthshatters you get on Rhine, the less you need your teammates to pop off and carry a team fight because you did it for them. The more sleep darts you hit on the enemy Doomfist, the less you need your allies to come peel for you because you accomplished that mission yourself. The more times you 1v1 an enemy on the high ground away from your team without needing any peel or heal, the less you rely on your teammates to have impact and get the job done as DPS. There is always more you could do to have impact, but here's another thing you need to take from this. Not every game is winnable. All climbing is a numbers game. All you want to do is maintain a higher than 50% win rate, and over time, you will climb. If you've played over 100 games and your win rate is 50% or less on your primary character, you really need to ask yourself, what is my impact not bringing to the table that makes my average amount of wins and losses negative? What void am I not filling? Is there more that I could be doing? And yes, there's always more you could be doing. There's always less mistakes that you could be making. To blame your teammates is an oversimplification, but really look at your stats and say, do I have a high win rate? If I don't, then it's most likely something that I'm doing. And if I do, you will climb if you maintain that win rate. The more dynamic the win rate, the larger it is, the easier it will be for you to climb faster. But even if you have a small win rate, as long as you maintain that, you will climb out of the rank. So stop blaming your teammates, stop blaming those around you, look at yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the difference maker and you're the only one who cares about your SR. Now moving on to the second hard truth I have for you is that if you're under diamond, people have gotten higher SR than you just based on their mechanical skill. Players from all different games will come to Overwatch and place high plat or diamond purely based on their mechanical skill and understanding of fundamentals from other games. This means that somehow there's a disconnect between actually understanding the game of Overwatch and actually applying your knowledge in game. Many of you, people who watch the channel, people at lower ranks, have great fundamental knowledge of the game. You understand how interactions work, you understand really important concepts about the game, but you can't get to higher ranks of these people that only have mechanical skill. The problem is if you do not have enough mechanical skill, if you haven't grinded your mechanical skill hard enough, it's really hard to turn conceptual ideas about the game into legitimate in-game actions. Essentially, what your lack of mechanics is preventing you from doing is accomplishing goals and plays that are on paper extremely good, but you're failing at them and not being able to execute them the way that you should be. This means doing something like taking an advantage fight against someone on the low ground. You have better resources, you have the high ground, better position, all these factors, but you still lose the matchup. It doesn't matter how much you know about the game and how good you are at identifying what is the right and wrong decision if you can't actually execute it and turn it into a plan that was a successful plan as opposed to a failure plan. This means do not neglect your mechanics. I don't care if you're a tank, a support, or a DPS, you can always put more emphasis in your mechanical skill when you're playing in your comp games. Think about your mechanical skill. Make sure you have a comfortable mouse or controller, proper hardware, and make sure you put in the hours. Mechanical skill is not something you learn overnight, but it is extremely important in Overwatch, and this hard truth proves that. Now moving on to the third hard truth, and this is one that I see incredibly often, it's Smurfs really don't ruin all your games. But if you really feel that way, GameLeap.com has got you covered with tips and tricks on how to destroy Smurfs again and again. Do yourself a favor and go check it out. And I know what a lot of you might be saying, Smurfs are in all my games, they ruin every single one of them, and it makes it impossible for me to get that 50% or above win rate that you keep talking about. Here's the thing that you need to understand. Most Smurfs don't come from top 500. I know that you've seen a lot of the Defran and Samito guides of people coming in and smurfing in their games and just rolling all the way to the finish line, which is Grandmaster. The fact of the matter is, most people, the majority of people, smurf only 1 or 2 ranks outside of where they belong, and on top of that, they typically do not play the exact same characters they play on their main. So if you're in low plat and someone just is barely in diamond, but they're not even playing the character that got them in the diamond, diamond, it's not going to be that hard for you to win. Honestly, those players are players that you probably play against and you don't even realize they're Smurfs 9 times out of 10. And for the players that go dynamically higher than that, the thing is, those Smurfs will be less and less likely because of just how fast they rank up past your rank, and they are still beatable. I have players and friends all over the high ranks that often Smurf, and there will be tons of games that they just can't win. They expect a certain amount of resources that they don't get. They want to play games in their own way. Carrying games in Overwatch is really hard with 6 players. They're not going to win every single game. Sure, they might have a 60, 65, 70% win rate, but you can still take steps to be that 30%, and even if you lose, you can learn something from it by analyzing what the Smurfs are doing. Not every single game will be Smurfs, and every single player that climbed from low rank to high rank still had to beat some number of Smurfs in order to get to the rank that they want to. I mean, if you try to get from low masters to grandmaster, the whole rank is just filled with grandmaster Smurfs. I mean, seriously, filled to the brim with them. But you still have to beat them if you want to get to grandmaster. You have to prove that you're just as good as them. That's who you're competing with. And when you're Smurfing and you're in plat or gold and you're up against the diamond or master Smurf, take it as an opportunity to try to beat them. Do everything you can. But if it's not winnable, understand that they're not going to be in every one of your games. Beat the next Smurf that you come across, because not every Smurf is going to carry. And that's all there is to it. Now, moving on to hard troop number 4. This is an important one. Any team composition can win if they're played better. A lot of players, even players at the lower rank, which doesn't really make that much sense to me, they'll get extremely crazy about what is the best team comp or what team comp you should be playing. Composition, best meta hero, etc, etc. None of these things really matter as far as you personally climbing. Now, don't get me wrong, playing the best hero in a meta can give you a couple percentage points. Being extremely good at adapting can give you a couple percentage points, but what can give you an insane amount of percentage points is just making very few mistakes and making high impact plays on whatever character you're playing. Doesn't matter the meta. When you're trying to improve, which is what every single player should be when they're trying to play, not get to peak after peak, you should just be trying to improve because the peaks will come after that. Don't worry about what is meta or what you're playing. Just try to make as little mistakes as possible and have the most impact. Now, I will regress a little bit. If you learn the meta, you watch Overwatch League, you learn about a meta. Understanding why a meta is good or bad and why specific characters are good and bad in a meta can be a way that you stretch your game knowledge and understanding of the game and help your game sense. But don't take that and cookie cutter it into your average rank game, because frankly, it doesn't matter that Tracer isn't the best DPS in the meta. When you're in gold, plat, diamond, masters, even grandmaster, you can still dominate with it. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things as long as your mistakes are low and your impact is high. Now let's move on to hard truths number 5, and this is going to the mistakes thing, and this is a really important concept for you to understand, because climbing in Overwatch, after you get past the mechanics and the playmaking and all this stuff, it's a numbers game, and the numbers it's about is mistakes. So the important takeaway here is that a grandmaster player will maybe make about 10 mistakes in a game. A Masters player might make 30, 40, or 50 mistakes. Now, if you're in diamond or lower, you're probably making hundreds and hundreds of mistakes in the game. Every single step you take, every single flank you make, every whatever, you're probably making mistakes. I mean, just the amount of mistakes is incredible. And that's why when I do a VOD review of a really high level player, they might make a couple of really important mistakes that lost them the game. If I'm VOD reviewing a low level player, I say, you made 40 mistakes in this first attack round alone, and each and every one of them could have won you a whole team fight. What this is really meant to define for you is that if you can start to VOD review yourself or get VOD reviews from others, isolate your mistakes out, iron them out, that is how you improve. That is how you become a better player and climb to the next tier. Because in my opinion, there's a certain barrier to entry for every rank of mechanical skill. There's a certain barrier to rank to every rank based on some number of understandings about games in general. And the last barrier to entry is how many mistakes you make. If you make an insane amount of mistakes, it doesn't matter how much pog plays you make, you're still gonna lose, because all the other times or the build up to making those pog plays, you're literally just going to be inting, feeding, or doing nothing for your team. Now moving on to hard truth number 6, medals, your teammates, or even previous successes could be teaching you poorly. There's a proper way to play, and there's a way that we adapt for ranked play, and you really need to try to differentiate the two. You can win playing really poorly as long as you do it together or do it better than the enemy. You can win playing in a way that's not generally good. You can have one defeating Genji on your team and always think Genji is bad. What I'm saying is taking information from your successes and failures is not always correct. Maybe in one game, you and your entire team dove a Brig and y'all just instantly killed her and rolled the enemy team. But guess what? Brig should not be the primary dive target. And if you think that because it worked in one game, you should apply it to every one of your games, that could be a way that you actually learn incorrectly and you take a lot of really weird misconceptions into games, even into the higher ranks. Essentially, the takeaway here is don't always assume that just because something worked one time, it is a legitimate strategy, it is the best strategy, and don't attach yourself so hard to concepts that you're unwilling to learn a different side of things later on. Now, moving on to hard takeaway number 7, if you've been stuck at the same rank for far too long, you are most likely not learning enough. You might be watching videos about concepts just like this one, but brushing over important ones. What you need to start doing is taking each and every fundamental and step and thing that you learn one at a time. It's really easy to become overwhelmed, and sometimes the response from players is to just consume everything they possibly can. It's extremely easy to get overwhelmed by that. Here's what you should try to do. Remove your mistakes one at a time. One mistake at a time. Try to stop doing it, and then don't move on until you remove that mistake from your gameplay. And learn one thing at a time and try to apply it into your games. This means that you don't overlearn and just become extremely brain dead by the amount of information you're taking in, but never applying to your games. Now, moving on to the 8th and final takeaway, and this one might hurt a little bit, but sometimes your duo and trio partners are actually making it harder, not easier to climb. Now, I know I've made tons of videos about amazing duo combos and trio combos and how to combo ultimates and all these factors, and there are tons of things that playing a duo can bring to the table. Good communication, trustworthy playmaking, being able to ultimate combo, all these different factors. They can all come with duos and trios, but that's only in a trio and duo that's taking the game completely seriously. So sometimes you have duos and trios that are just your friends, that are just your buddies. They play the game only on the weekend while you're trying so hard to climb to the next rank. And guess what? They don't synergize with you at all. They might not call. Maybe they tilt all the time. This can happen all the time, and I've seen it all the time. Now, these players are players that you could play with. You could play with them in quick play. You could play with them on an alt account. But don't play with them on your main and your main games if they don't take the game as seriously as you, if they tilt all the time. And then secondly, sometimes because of how good you are and just how much you play with them, you actually carry them to a higher rank than they deserve, completely out of their comfort zone. Now, you see this really often in duos and trios. Now, let's say by themselves, if they played in plat, they would have like a 45% win rate, and then over time they would drop to gold. But because you and your buddy are playing with them and you have a 55-60% win rate in plat or gold or whatever, you have climbed them to a rank that they don't deserve anymore. You have pushed them beyond their limits, and every game you win after that, it becomes harder and harder to carry people that don't belong unless they take effort into improving themselves just like you. But like I said, they might not even care. They might not be even trying. So sometimes you need to understand when a duo partner or a trio partner is mentally helping you perform, you know, they're positive, they're good people to play with, and they are also putting in the work to improve with you, because if they're not, they might just be holding you back. And it might be just better to play with them in quick play or another account or something like that. But when you're on your main, when you're trying your hardest, find people that really want to work with you. Find people that are going to help you improve, and people that you could learn from, because you all want to improve together, not just playing with someone who just will play with you just because they can. Now, if you watch this video and you want to learn how to isolate your mistakes, carry against Smurfs, or improve your mechanics, you definitely need to go to GameLeap.com. We have the most in-depth conceptual guides that will tell you how to isolate your mistakes, improve your mechanical skills extremely fast, and learn proper positioning and fundamentals so that you can start carrying way more of your games. You don't even have to take my word for it. GameLeap.com offers a 10-day money-back guarantee, so come check us out in the links here. Anyways, I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I hope that I don't have an insanely high dislike rate. I know that a lot of people in the community have a lot of these misconceptions, or they feel a certain way about the game, and I know it's really easy to feel this way. At the end of the day, you need to understand that it's in your hands. You can make a difference, and I hope that this guide has helped you show some of the ways where you can actually climb, make a difference in your own play, and not feel so frustrated about being stuck at the ranks that you've been stuck at for season after season. Anyways, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. That's all I have for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time,